So again, I reiterate Renz's welcome to all of you. I remember coming to the US as a graduate student, I'm going to say probably 30 years ago. And at that point in time, I was at the University of Maryland. We didn't have anything similar to an AAARCC. So we had to learn things the hard way. But something that Renz mentioned came up to my mind, and that was I had a very good support system. It's crucial that you have a support system because people who have taken the journey a few years, so even a few months before you can probably give you some suggestions as well. So welcome to all the participants. I know you're going to be part of a thriving global community at Purdue. And at Purdue, we really value the diversity of our students and our staff and faculty who come from all over the US as well as from all over the world. And we believe that having this diversity helps us to develop a broad cultural understanding, and I would say a more complete viewpoint of the world around us. So, and we also find that when you're studying and learning and sharing knowledge together, it helps us to work in a more collaborative environment in the global setting. So, and as a faculty member at Purdue, I'm thrilled that you have taken the time to engage with us early on, and we look forward to supporting you throughout your academic career at Purdue. Okay, so I thought I would frame, what I wanted to share along certain groups of strategies. And, for some of the strategies, I have comic strips from PhD comics. I like a little bit of humor. I'm not a very funny person, although my students say that I'm funny. And by the way, I'm a faculty member in civil engineering. I work both with undergraduate students and graduate students, and currently I'm serving as the graduate chair in civil engineering. So my first strategy is titled Be Proactive, right? And within that strategy, I would suggest that each of you develop a roadmap. Before we embark on any kind of journey, we just don't get into our cars or planes or whatever, and just jump off and do stuff. We typically have some kind of a plan. So it's important to develop a roadmap, and you can develop a roadmap the very first semester you're here. It's just a map. It can change. Your priorities may change, the paths you take may change, but at least you have some kind of a plan. Okay? I often tell the students in my undergrad and graduate courses, I would say, develop a plan. I would say plan the work and then work the plan. Okay? Plan the work and then work the plan. Within the category of being proactive, I strongly recommend that as students, both undergrad and grad students, take the initiative and build relationships. So you can build relationships with faculty and staff in your department or school, and possibly, upper level students, alumni from your programs, alumni and students in organizations that you're involved with. That's very important. Because when you do that, when you take the initiative and build these relationships, you're also developing networks. Very important. Third, develop a support circle. And the support circle may change as you go through your academic pursuits. So probably when you first come on board, it may be your initial academic advisor, it may be the students with whom you're engaged in if you're going through Boiler Gold BGR or one of the graduate orientations. It may be a group of students with whom you have traveled with. It may be your first set of roommates or people on your floor in the dorms. Start there, but you will find that very soon, depending upon what you're pursuing based on your roadmap, your support circle may change, may enlarge, may sometimes be smaller. You may find that some of the folks that you thought were, good support staff, supporters for you are typically not, and you may want to change that as well. And then finally, under being proactive, I would say build key skills. Be organized, be prepared, always have a collegial attitude. That does not mean you agree with everybody, but you have a respectful attitude that is that people want to engage with, right? And then learn some budgeting skills, budgeting of time and your resources, financial resources. The second group of strategies which I put forth are try to find ways to learn and think outside the box. And I use the word in community. You cannot do that successfully just working on your own. So you have to, again, going back to strategy number one, you're going to do it in the context of community. And when you're embarking on an undergrad or graduate degree at Purdue or any other institution of higher learning, consider yourself as a member of your future profession. So Renz mentioned that, he is keen on going to physical therapy school, right? So hopefully he's taking on the persona of a future physical therapist. What are some of the skills that that physical therapists need? What are some of the networking opportunities? Okay, at Purdue, we are so blessed to have so many different seminars, workshops, lectures, and so on and so forth, right? So attend optional lectures and seminars that are within and beyond your program or department, because it will open up new avenues for you. Okay, attend, and if you're a senior undergraduate student or graduate students, attend and present at conferences, because those open doors for you downstream. And I would encourage every one of you to join and actively engage in at least one professional organization. You may do more than one, but again, you have to prioritize your time, budget your time. And so at least one professional organization and one organization that is cultural or sports or hobbies and so on. So that way you have, you're getting input for your academic journey as well as for other aspects of your life at Purdue. Strategy number 3, for every student, know your program requirements and timelines. So, I'm positive that once you get into your schools or your departments, they will probably give you a plan of study for your 4 years, 5 years, professional programs, and so on. So what are the types of courses that you need? You need to take, are there certain prerequisites that have to be completed? When are these courses going to be offered? At Purdue, not all courses are going to be offered in every semester. So you have to figure out, with consultation with your advisors as to when you will take the courses that you need in order to graduate. Are there capstone courses that you have to do? If you're in a professional program, are there any internship requirements? I'm within the construction engineering area within civil engineering, and we have a division of construction engineering and management. It's an undergraduate program, and every student in the program, for instance, has to complete 3 internships before they are allowed to earn their degree. So you have to ensure that that's going to be part of your roadmap. If you are in certain kind of fine art programs, you have to have portfolios. And you cannot begin your portfolio the night before they are due. So you need to have that as well. Are there research credits and major projects that you have to complete? Are there qualifying exams and comprehensive exams? These are typically for PhD students. If you're doing a master's thesis or a PhD dissertation, what is a time frame for doing the research, for publishing, for the final documents, and so on? And then, if you have a defense, if you have annual reporting requirements, what are those requirements and timelines? Seek balance, support, and harmony in your life. That is my strategy number 4. And I put the first one, get enough sleep, because this is a common concern that I find among undergraduate students as well as graduate students. You know, I'm either too busy doing work, or I'm playing too many video games, or chatting, or watching, you know, binging on Netflix or something. So I'm not getting enough sleep. So I know many of my students, you know, they probably don't sleep more than 2 or 3 hours, and they're exhausted. You know, so physically, it's not good to do that. So get enough sleep. Make time for physical exercise, activities, and hobbies. And I think Renz mentioned that, you know, he exercises and so on. Eat nutritious and healthy meals. That means you don't eat as much junk food. Okay, one of my PhD students, I always make fun of him. I mean, he's graduated now, and he would say, "Oh, Professor Abraham, I'm just going to get something from McDonald's." McDonald's typically is not going to give you very nutritious meals if all your meals are eaten there. So eat nutritious meals. And I was very encouraged when I heard Renz say that, you know, he keeps track of all his recipes, because, you know, cooking can be a wonderful way to relax, because it uses all your senses, it helps you to be creative, and so on. And of course, you get to eat good meals as well. Point number 4 here is very important, and I require all my grad students to do that. I would say, take 1 day a week off from your school, college work, studies, etc. And you know, when I first started as a graduate student, and even when I first started my work as a faculty member, I didn't do that, and I got burned out, right? So take 1 day a week off. And, you know, and the other thing is, when you do that, the other 6 days you're working really hard, because you're looking forward to the day of rest and rejuvenation and relaxation. So it's great to do that. It enables your mind, your body, and your soul to be rejuvenated. Okay. Keep connected with your family and friends outside college. Now that you're at college, don't forget the people who supported you earlier. So if it's your mom or your grandma or your sister or your little brother or whoever, keep in touch with them, right? Don't break off ties, hopefully, with people who have surrounded you with love and helped you to get to where you are. Okay, I believe I already mentioned, you know, join a cultural, sports, special interest organizations to network and to grow and to enjoy pursuits outside your area of study. And seek out the resources on campus that can help you through challenging times. I think I have put a couple in one of my latter slides, and I think Renz has also, you know, given you a list of resources through AARCC. Now, specifically for graduate students, I would say if there are graduate students who are on this call, I would strongly encourage them as early as possible to discuss expectations and timelines with academic advisors, you know, your research supervisor. I have a cartoon from PhD Comics which says, the professor says, "I want you to know that I expect my students to be in the lab during regular working hours." And the student says, "You mean 9 to 5? And the professor says, "I mean 6 a.m. to midnight." Woo, I hope not. And the student, of course, is confused. And he says, "But my stipend only covers 20 hours a week." And the student and the faculty member says, "Of quality work, not grad student work." Because sometimes grad students tend to spend time, you know, being distracted. We'll talk about distractions in a little while. I mean, just as a joke, sometimes when grad students would come to me, I always tell my grad students, please don't bring your phone with you unless you're expecting an emergency phone call, because every time there's a ding, they would turn around and, you know, look at the phone. So that can be a distraction. Schedule, if you're a PhD student, schedule regular meetings with your entire doctoral committee at least once a year. Some programs actually require that. So in the School of Civil Engineering, we require that every one of our PhD students meets with his or her entire doctoral committee so that everybody is on the same page. There is synergy of discussion, and there are no unexpected consequences towards the end of the program. When you have these meetings, have a clear purpose. What is the purpose? What is the typical outcome of the expected outcome of this meeting? Send an agenda ahead of time. If the committee members have asked you to perform some work, show them the results of the work. If some of the work cannot be done, explain, what resources are needed to do the work or why it's not part of the actual plan of the work. Keep your supervisor informed of your progress and challenges, because sometimes faculty members may not be able to gauge the challenges that you have. So for instance, when we pass through as we are passing through the COVID seasons, internet connectivity, poor connectivity, and maybe spotty connectivity can have an impact on the progress in your work, or the ability not to be able to contact do the one-on-one interviews or get into a lab, all that can have an impact. So what are the challenges that you have? Just as I mentioned on the previous slide, take workshops outside, outside your department that may focus on teaching or grant writing or entrepreneurship or other skills that you can develop, okay? If you're a PhD student, I would also encourage you to mentor undergraduate students. It may be in your lab, in your research setting, it may be through, other professional activities that you have. And for all students, maintain scholarly integrity in all aspects of your work. Because, you as a Purdue scholar, as a Boilermaker scholar will be known. And we want to be sure that, that you're known for your honesty and your integrity. So there were some questions that were asked related to, I think there were 4 themes. So what are some effective study skills? Okay, first, make good use of your class time. Again, in the middle of spring, we all went to complete online learning. And I was teaching a graduate course and I was doing it synchronously. So I could see I call them my students' kids. I could see all my kids all the time. And I really enjoyed that. But, we had a few undergraduate courses in my department where the courses were, offered asynchronously and the students never bothered to show up for the lectures or, office hours or anything. So the engagement was lost. And when you engage with a course, that's when you get the best out of it. Number 2, do active reading. Don't just read for the sake of reading. Ask questions as you're reading. Okay. Take notes. I always sit with a pen and a highlighter to kind of write to myself questions as I'm reading something. So it takes me a longer time to read something, but then I tend to retain it much better, because I have engaged with the material. Consistently work out assignments. Don't wait to do your assignments at the day before they are due. So I would encourage folks to do the assignment maybe a day or so after, again, depending upon when they are due. Work out the assignment, ask questions, go deeper into the assignments. And then sometimes you may want to do self-study, but sometimes it helps to do group study. But don't do group study without doing self-study. Group study works out best when each of you is teaching the other, right? And when you teach others, you learn material better. Renz also mentioned not to let challenges or obstacles to keep you down. And I put it, do not let a single poor grade discourage you, right? You can move on. It's just 1 grade, but move on, okay? And finally, use the resources provided by the department, the college, the university, so that you're very well prepared. There can be recitation sessions, TA office hours, workroom studies, and Purdue has many resources. If you go to Purdue's Academic Success Center, that's the link, there are many resources that are available, okay? Next, there was a question related to how do you maintain healthy relationships with faculty and people who are supervising your work. So the first thing is be respectful. Be respectful when you're interacting with them in class, through communications, in other interactions with them. And if you look at the cartoon at the bottom, it says how to write an email to your instructor or TA. And when you start off a message saying from student to instructor, hey, who is hey? So be respectful and professional and collegial when you're writing email messages. Second, be prepared for meetings and discussions. When you say you're setting up a meeting with a faculty member and you say, I want to come and see you. My first question is, what do you want to see me about? And give me a little discussion. Okay. Or if you have a problem with with an assignment, show me what you have done before you come and say, I don't understand anything. That doesn't show much initiative. Next, be respectful of boundaries. So, in some countries, you may refer to a professor by his or her first name. I would always say when you start off initially, be more formal than, and if they're giving you permission, then you can resort to just first names. Also, be aware of relationship boundaries. Professors and students are not supposed to fraternize, right? So if there are some unacceptable relationships, that will not do. So be sure that you understand what those relationship boundaries are. And then finally, do not ignore problems. If you find that your advisors, your faculty members, the staff members, the TAs, and you are on totally different pages, don't wait till the end of the semester to raise that concern and to work through that concern. Okay, work through the problems so that they don't turn out to be crisis. And I've listed a number of resources that put you can, if you're an undergraduate student, the Office of the Dean of Students is a great place. If you're a graduate student, the Office of Graduate Assistance in the Graduate School is a good place. Then you have CAPS, and I think we have someone from CAPS who's going to talk to us today. Also the Office of Institutional Equity. So these are some resources that you can avail of when you're at Purdue. And as Renz mentioned, you've come to a wonderful university. You're spending a lot of money, or somebody is spending a lot of money on your behalf for you to get a quality education. So make good use of the resources that you have. Another question had to do with, what do we do with burnout? I'm burnt out. I don't know what to do. First strategy that I have is build intrinsic motivation. Find out what skills are needed or what skills need to be developed and what experiences you want to have while you're still at Purdue, because you have created a roadmap. And as Renz mentioned, he wants to be a physical therapist. What is your intrinsic motivation? Okay, I'm not doing this course because I have to do it. I'm doing this course because it's going to be one step towards something I want to do. Okay? Visualize your progress and celebrate your achievements, even if they're very small achievements. So for instance, I love good food, and I like to try different kinds of food. So anytime I finish a major project or even a minor project, I go and reward myself by ordering food from a place that I like. Or it may be a plant that I want for my garden, or something exciting, doing some fun stuff with a friend. So something small, even if it's a small achievement, celebrate. Spread your study time over days rather than cramming just at the last time, because then you won't get so stressed out and you won't feel the burnout, okay? Take breaks regularly. It's very helpful, in order to restore focus and to increase creativity. So sometimes when I feel that I'm not making any progress, I, just close my laptop and I just take a walk in my backyard. I mean, right now during COVID. Otherwise, when I was in the Hampton Hall, I would just go up and down my building or just go around the building just get some fresh air, breathe the fresh air, maybe see a couple of trees and then be back, kind of a deal. And always keep the end in mind. Remember the big picture, the roadmap. What is at the end of the roadmap? We want to be there. One of the questions, a couple of other questions was, how do we deal with distractions? Okay, so again, here I have a PhD, a comic from the PhD comics, and it shows my desktop, my computer desktop, not mine, but of course I have got the thesis stuff. I've got, frequent shortcuts. I've got my to-do list. I've got a whole bunch of things on my desktop. But sometimes what happens is when I have too many things on my computer desktop, I'm very distracted. So first, get organized with a to-do list. I like to create a to-do list, and this is my to-do list book, my memo book. And I tend to write a whole bunch of things, and sometimes guess what I do? I finish off something and I write it in and then I cancel it because it gives me a sense of achievement, right? So I do things like that as well. Organize your workspace. Some people like to work when there's a lot of chaos around them. I do not tend to do well in those types of situations. I like a well-organized organized workspace. And, silence the alerts on your phone and keep your internet tabs open, the open internet tabs to a minimum, because those can be, distractors as well. Now, I tend not to use music or headphones to cut down on noise, but if you're going to be working in a public place, maybe after the COVID season is gone, some of you may enjoy working in a coffee shop or in maybe in the study area within your dorms or whatever. So maybe use music or headphones to cut out the noise. And for each of you, find out what is the best environment for effective studying and working. And finally, how do we deal with uncertainty? This was again a question that was posed by one of you. My first strategy out there is plan your self-care time and schedule your worry time. Now, what does that mean? Plan your self-care time. Now, most of us have traveled, right? And anytime the flight attendants come and give you your safety procedures, what do they say? They say, always put your oxygen mask first before you go and put the oxygen mask on someone else, right? So you need to be sure that you're planning your self-care time. So you're sleeping well, you're resting well, you're eating nutritious food, you're exercising, you have a support team, and so on and so forth. So that's fine. So be sure that you plan your self-care time. But it's also important to schedule your worry time. Now, what does that mean? Particularly during the COVID season, but all the time, everyone has worries, right? So sometimes what I do, it sometimes works for me, is I write down all my worries and I say, I'm going to spend so many minutes per day or per week looking at my worry list. Once I finish looking at my worry list, I put it away, right? So I have spent time in my worry list and then it's done. Now, some people, what they do is, they say they go to a certain room and that's the room where they worry in, and then it's done. So whatever. So I would say schedule your worry time. I think we talked about point number 2, taking time to get enough sleep and rest. Number 3 is recognize that grief and loss can occur even during times of joy. So for instance, because of the COVID season, we were not able to have any of the in-person celebrations for graduation, parties, and so on and so forth. It was a loss of community. I missed not being able to go take my students and their families for dinners after they defended their PhD dissertations. I missed not being able to hood my students or engaging with them or bidding goodbye to them in person before they left or hugging them, whatever, right? So recognize that grief and loss can occur even during occasions of celebration. But also recognize that we are most resilient when we operate out of our strengths, and that some kind, the right kind of stress can help us to be more creative. And it can help us to solve, find new ways to solve our problems, right? And then when you're trying to deal with uncertainty, it's so important to stay connected with your support circle. And your support circle can be in person, your support circle can be online, your faith is going to be an important part of your support circle. So be sure that you have that kind. I use the word community, commune, that's very important. And then last strategy that I have is to create a gratitude journal, right? Now, what is a gratitude journal? There are so many things that are going wrong, but each one of us has been blessed. And I think each of us who is on this call, on this webinar, is blessed because, we are part of a great institution. So put that down as, one of the things I'm grateful for, because I think when we start counting our blessings, our challenges are not going to seem that bad. I'm not saying they're not bad, but they're going to not be that bad. You're going to find strength to be able to handle them in community and in consultation with others. Okay, so that's all what I had to share. I know Pam gave me 10 minutes to chat, but I had many things to share. So I hope, thank you for indulging me with your time.